Hey everyone, welcome back. Today I'm going to be reviewing Disney Pixar's WALL-E. I'd say WALL-E is one of the solo Pixar movies that honestly stands out a bit better than some. It's able to portray storytelling and setting up the character of WALL-E and what his life is like without ever using a single line of dialogue. Now, yes, we see some holographic signs kind of helping us as the audience depict what has happened to Earth and where the people have gone, but even when Wally meets Eve, there isn't many lines between them, and the lines that are used is basically just to help each other figure out their names. Throughout the first 40 minutes of the movie, you actively don't have the main characters or basically anyone have any lines of dialogue, but you're still able to constantly tell what is always happening and what's going on through the various motions and noises and reactions of the characters with the world. Wally's going about his day, and all of a sudden this giant rocket comes down to Earth and drops off this mysterious robot. He meets her and ends up kind of falling in love with her until she finds this plant that Wally found and goes into shutdown mode. And he basically sits there and waits around for her to wake up, but she doesn't, and soon enough a ship comes back to retrieve Eve. Wally ends up following her when she's taken up to space, and when Wally gets to the Axiom ship, which is the main ship that all of the humans are on, he follows Eve to the captain's room, where we learn about the plan to go back to Earth once they found life. But to our surprise, the plant is missing, and Eve no longer has it. They're both sent to the repair center, and Wally causes unintentional chaos. Eve tries to send Wally back, but when a robot places the plant in an escape pod, Wally gets accidentally trapped in there with it. Thankfully, Wally retrieves it and flies around happily with Eve. It's a fun and magical scene in space, and afterwards they take the plant back to the captain.
And they grow food like pizza.
Good night, Captain.
When they return with the plant, this is when the autopilot shows its true nature and attacks Wally. He falls down the garbage chute with the plant, and Eve is tossed in right after. And it's not necessarily bad having your antagonist as evil technology, but it's a much more mild and less exaggerated use of it, so it's not that bad, unlike most live action movies. They both manage to escape the garbage chute, thankfully, without being crushed, and Mo tags along, which is another little robot that we see on the Axiom who is very obsessed with cleaning the dirt that Wally leaves behind. The captain and autopilot are wrestling over for control for the holodetector, which is where the plant is supposed to be placed. But thankfully, the captain manages to take control and they hyperspeed to Earth. When they land, Eve rushes Wally to repair him. Thankfully, he lived and remembered Eve, and they have a great scene together as the movie ends. For a solo movie, this was a much better Pixar film than others they've produced. I enjoyed the plot and the character storyline for Wally and Eve. It was so well done that their wants lined up to be the same by the end of the movie. It was a relatable and interesting idea that they gave such human emotions and reactions to a robot and made him just want love through the whole movie. The captain was definitely amusing, and I honestly liked him, especially when he was like looking at all of the things from Earth and he just kept saying,
Divine dancing.
This movie had a very drastic viewpoint on the world, and it's not uncommon for movies to be post-apocalyptic, I guess, but in this case it's not zombies or a disease, but it's rather just a barren wasteland full of trash from the high levels of usage from humans. It's clearly trying to show us a somewhat possible but exaggerated form of Earth where basically if we don't take care of it, it can be overrun from population and garbage, and it can be polluted from all of these companies and factories and machines that we use on a day-to-day basis. And it is clear that the companies in the movie were kind of contributing to the problem, but I think it was mostly just a general statement showing us what it may look like. And I did like the realization I found in the movie where, by and large, is basically Pixar's Costco. And as hilarious and slightly realistic as it may be, I do hope we all aren't cruising around in floaty chairs in 1,000 years. I'd say both the animation and the soundtrack are also really well done. The soundtrack is pretty consistent. They play this certain theme from some sort of video or movie that Wally is obsessed with that kind of teaches him that he searches for love as well. And it's a really nice way to keep things consistent in the movie. The animation is also really well done. I love how things are detailed, and by the time you get Wally onto the Axiom, where everything is very smooth and white and sleek and modern, he definitely stands out as a much more rough and rugged robot compared to everything else that is a lot more smooth and glossed over. I also really liked all of the unique, fun trinkets that Wally had been collecting over his time making all of these cubes. And it's really cool and fun to see how he basically lives inside this other machine and keeps all of his fun things organized and stuff like that. I think this movie is a pretty solid movie. I think I would give this one a confident 8 out of 10. I think it does a lot of things that were a little bit ahead of its time. I think the fact that it had like 40 to 45-ish minutes of the movie basically be movie screen time without dialogue, but having us be able to understand what's going on is really well done, and I actively do not see that in a lot of other movies, so I have to give a lot of respect and props to Pixar for that. So overall, I enjoyed Wall-E, and it's a very well-told story of a robot that finds love in a world that has nothing left. Well, that's going to be my review of Disney Pixar's Wall-E. I hope you guys enjoyed, and if you did, feel free to like and subscribe down below and comment what you thought of this movie. I hope you guys are looking forward to more movie reviews in the future, but until then, thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you all later.